Welcome to the Whole Pack, where we challenge black and white thinking in holistic pet care and dive into the controversial topics everyone's thinking about but nobody's saying out loud. I'm Sunny Gandera.
And I'm Melissa Sherman, and we are two holistic pet health practitioners here to prove that holistic care can include critical thinking, self-care, and yes, even Western medicine when needed. This is a judgment-free community we wish we'd had when we started our journey.
Welcome back to the Whole Pack podcast. Today's episode is about the healing power of sound, how animals respond to music and vibration. And we have a very special guest that we're super excited to introduce you to. Dr. Meghan Barrett is a holistic veterinarian, sound therapy practitioner, and founder of Muse Holistic Veterinary Care in Honolulu, Hawaii. Her practice combines modern rehabilitation techniques with evidence-based holistic modalities, including acupuncture, laser therapy, manual therapy, and custom soundscapes designed to reduce stress and enhance healing. Muse Holistic Veterinary Care was established to provide animals with a calm, low-stress environment, distinct from traditional clinical settings. In addition to companion animals, Dr. Barrett provides holistic medical care to marine wildlife, horses, zoo animals, and livestock. With a lifelong background in music, Dr. Barrett composes and records original sound therapy music tailored to the auditory and emotional needs of animals. Her compositions, featuring harp, flute, and ambient textures, are designed to support parasympathetic activation and are available to the public via YouTube and Bandcamp. You're not busy at all, are you, Dr. Barrett? Welcome so much. We are so grateful to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So before we dive in, I came across one of your interviews where you were working with tuning forks, and I haven't stopped thinking about it, and so much so that you inspired me to purchase my own tuning forks and sound bowls, so Thank you for that. So
great.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you find your way into holistic veterinary medicine, and then what does your practice look like today?
Okay, so yeah, definitely it has been like a lifelong journey. I grew up being surrounded by animals. I just like loved them so much from a young age. We had a lot of pets when I was growing up, and my parents are both musicians. They are in the Hawaii Symphony. So the two paths never really converged until this chapter that I'm in of my life. But, you know, they were happening simultaneously where, like, I had a lot of my animals, and then I got into equestrian sports when I was in high school. And, you know, through that, I also was doing, like, dance and other activities, got many injuries for myself. So like, working with the animals and the horses are always getting injured, and then we're always getting injured, falling off, and, being active teenagers. So I went through a lot of physical therapy myself, and that was a thing that early on, going through it for myself and with our animals, it was a particular interest of mine, was trying to get us all back on our feet and doing what we love, and making sure that the animals had what they needed. So, and then going back to the music side of things, growing up, I also learned to play a lot of instruments, and started with like violin when I was 3, and then went into flute and like bass guitar, and actually thought I would follow my parents' path and be a musician. But I also had my godmother, who happened to be a veterinarian. She, when I was growing up, she worked with dolphins, and she was like a caretaker for some dolphins at a facility. And then when I was 10, she left to go to vet school at Colorado State. And when she was done, then she ended up becoming a marine animal vet. So I had all these different influences happening throughout my life, and it all came to that point where, like, when I was deciding what I wanted to do, I decided to try to become a vet like her, maybe leave the music as more of a hobby. And yeah, then going through vet school, I ended up going to the same school as her, which was incredible. And when you have to kind of figure out what your interest is as a vet, pain management was one of the big focuses that I had, because I just knew so much about it from my own path of like, recovering from injuries, and just how fulfilling that is to help others with that. And so, yeah, long story short, I went through vet school. I got my first job as a vet, and I had already done my certifications in acupuncture and physical therapy. So I started working in general practice doing that. And, meanwhile, was still doing some music on the side. At that point, I was learning to produce music, like digitally, and like recording instruments. And so it got to a point where, sorry, I'm like telling you the whole story now.
That's
going
fine.
into the music
That's
thing.
Fascinating, please.
Yeah. I found that like when you're sitting in an appointment with an animal, and they're people for 45 minutes or an hour, it gets, number one, really awkward if it's just like total silence. And then also there's a lot of background noise in a clinic that you might want to mask so that they can relax. So it became pretty regular for me to have music playing. And I realized that the music that was playing, like, I'm like, I could just make my own music to be listening to. So that was what inspired me to start recording and making some music for the sessions. So that's part of the story, but kind of the general arc of how everything came together.
Yeah, I love how you combine your passions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
and you
feel
have some
so
really-
fortunate to have it all like
Sorry.
come together in this way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some really incredible influences in your life that just made this really cool package that you offer. So you started recording music for your office. When did you actually start seeing you could use it to help the animals heal? Like, was there a particular patient that you played something for and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm onto something here?
Yeah, I really started noticing it with my own animals. Like my cats would come and listen when I would play the harp and just like come around and fall asleep. And it's just interesting because I think even throughout my life of having the animals around and the music happening, I didn't really make that connection until much later on, of just the healing power of sound and music, and how helpful it is clinically. There's more research coming out now too, but you can also just see it like in day-to-day life when you start experimenting with it, which is the really fun part.
So for listeners who are completely like new to this, like what's actually happening when an animal receives that therapeutic sound? Like, what are we talking about? Is it physical? Is it energetically? What's going on?
Yeah, the cool thing is that it's all of those, and that's one of the lovely things about sound therapy, is that it can have benefits on different systems in the body. So, one of the big things that music can do that's just very practical is masking unwanted sounds. Our pets have very sensitive hearing, and they're always, you can see even like cat ears swiveling around, and like they're ready to respond to any stimulus, because that's just how they've evolved to have those sharp senses. And so when you want them to be more relaxed, the first step is often just trying to reduce those unwanted sounds, because they can be very distracting and kind of keep the nervous system more on edge as they're having that, it's called an orienting response, where like if you hear something you don't know what it is, then you like turn and look towards it and try to figure that out. And because animals don't have the understanding that we do of like interpreting what like a beeping car outside or something means, all of these strange sounds from the human world are constantly bombarding their nervous systems, and they can kind of get used to it and get numbed out, but we don't really want that, because that's not ideal. And so yeah, the number one thing, is masking. And a lot of people, they might start using music with their pets for like the fireworks or the thunderstorms. That's where I see a lot of people just having that awareness of applying it. But then the other side of it is where it can have like its own benefits that are beyond just like removing the unwanted sounds. When you add the nice sounds that that music and like harmonic, like the elements of music that make it music rather than sound, right? Is that it's more organized, like it has a structure, like there's rhythms and chords, and it flows in a certain way. And so, while we don't fully know how animals can interpret music the way like that we do, it is interesting that they do seem to respond to things like rhythmic patterns and frequency changes and the frequency intervals, where if you think of kind of like lullaby music or music that you would put on for a baby, where they have that very sensitive nervous system, that's generally good music to use for animals because they also have that sensitive system, and it can be soothing to them like it would be to a child who also can't really understand the intricacies of music.
So can I ask a quick question for like to differentiate, because you're talking about like the different rhythms, so that would be music, harp, or the other instruments that you're playing, and I know you use the tuning forks as well, which is usually a particular frequency. So is there a difference between using something that's a particular frequency versus a melody?
Yeah, definitely. I think the way that single frequency might be used, like you mentioned, like a tuning fork. And the cool thing about those is that we can use weighted tuning forks to apply the vibration into the tissues and into the body. So when people think of tuning forks, they might think of the ones that's literally just like a fork, and they can be very high pitched. People will sometimes use those more for like energetic work on other people, but because it's a high pitched noise and it can be loud and sudden when you strike it, we don't often use those types of tuning forks with animals. We might use the types, they have weights on the end so that it actually vibrates the fork at a certain frequency, and then you can apply the stem of the fork like onto a point on the body. Very often we'll use acupuncture points. And if you've ever experienced it, it's you strike the fork, and then as the vibration wanes away, it has this like kind of decrescendo effect that can be very calming. And that's one of the ways that we can use that, where the physical sensation of a vibration happening and then tapering off to nothing is very calming to the nervous system. So I'll often use that tool for pets who don't tolerate acupuncture needles. And then it's a great thing for pet owners to learn to use to enhance their acupressure practice so that they can add a little more energy to the points that they're stimulating. And then to your question, you might use a tuning fork or a frequency in that way. And then I think if you're going to have more something playing as in the background, then having some variations can be nice, but within a certain range, because having one noise going like that could be white noise. It could be nice for masking, but generally it's nice to have some variations so that you can tell something's happening. It's not just like a ongoing frequency, which depending on what it is could be a little bit annoying depending on like the volume and the pitch.
And you mentioned, obviously what we can do at home, what pet parents can do at home as well, learning to use tuning forks and such. But is there like a difference between, say, a pet parent putting on classical music at home and what you do as a practitioner? Like, is there a sort of a end to enrichment and then, or beginning to therapy, if you will?
Yeah, totally. That's a great question. So, one thing for people to be aware of is that depending on your understanding or like knowledge of classical music, it has a reputation for being very calming, but if you just put on like the classical radio station, it can get kind of kind of crazy sometimes. So classical music can actually be pretty loud and like intense. So it's important to realize that there are like genres within classical music, and some is more peaceful than others. So that's why that mention of like lullaby music is always pretty safe for using with pets, because it's like if you would leave it on for a sleeping baby, then it's probably safe for calming pets. With that being said, then there's a little bit more we can dive into with animals' hearing ranges and what they seem to respond to. And in my experience, I've found that different species have different preferences for sounds and like instruments that they tend to maybe seem more calmed by or a little bit more stimulated by. And it seems to make a difference whether the music is recorded or live.
Interesting.
So that's another way that making it like extra therapeutic can be live instruments, especially acoustic instruments that really produce the sound through vibration, not just through amplification. And so having a guitar or a piano or the harp, or even like flutes, you can see more profound effects on the animals because they're actually feeling those vibrations. It's not just like a digital sound that's hitting their eardrum. They're like actually feeling it. So that's one way that it's nice, like how you've purchased those sound bowls or the tuning forks, having the music be live and like analog acoustic is always, I think, has the biggest impact. As long as it's the instrument that animal likes. And it depends on the individual too.
Right, yeah. Do you have an example, like you said, different species react to different music? Do you have a couple of examples you can?
Yeah, so I've noticed that most animals do well with the harp, and I think that goes well for like guitar and piano. They just seem to have a pretty broad application. But certain things like string instruments, like a violin or a cello or even flutes, can almost sound more like the animal's own vocalizations.
Oh, yeah.
So one time I had one of my flutes, and I met a friend's new puppy, and he is kind of shy to begin with, but I didn't really think about it. So I started playing the flute, and he got really alarmed. Like he was barking. And I think for him, it maybe sounded like another dog because it's in that same range of like sounds that a dog can make. And so, and it's like, I haven't noticed that with all dogs, but with him, it was just a little weird for him.
Right.
So it's always really interesting. And then recently I've been doing some music sessions for some dolphins that live at a facility. And I've noticed that with them, because they're in water, they can hear the flutes and other like higher pitched instruments better, rather than like the harp. We've had success with like an underwater speaker, but if it's playing above the water, they're interested, but it's not as impactful as the flute playing.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So I think most pet parents are thinking of music as something to either mask a noise or to calm, or to, they're leaving the house, they leave something on. Have you experienced anything else where you feel like, whoa, that was really profound healing and I wasn't expecting that, whether it was pain or whatever kind of patient, that you could share?
Yeah, I think it's catching on more in animal facilities like hospitals and, other places like grooming or boarding, where music is being used either just during like those times when the animals are just waiting and having a lot of anxiety, like waiting in a cage or recovering from surgery, that can really make a difference for that patient, rather than just being in a unfamiliar environment with only background noises. Or even sometimes in those types of facilities, people will be playing like music that they want to work to, like kind of intense or like workout music and things like that, which I tend to not prefer, like for the patients.
Yeah.
So another thing that's really interesting is they've been doing more research showing that if you actually have music playing during surgery, like certain types, like certain calming classical music, the patients have faster recovery and need less anesthetic drugs and analgesic pain management drugs than ones that have no music playing at all. So I think it's really interesting, and I hope that it's something that the profession takes seriously, because I think it can have a really big impact. And it's pretty much free. It's easy to do. It's nice for everyone. But I think it's just getting past that culture of like the way things have been, where it's like, oh, well, if they're under anesthesia, then, they can't hear anything or feel anything. But you hear these stories of people who like were partially awake during surgery. It's like the body is still perceiving what's happening, just on a different level. So I think it's just something really simple that could be integrated more into like all hospitals for both humans and animals. And I'm hoping that as we spread more awareness, then it will catch on and take hold.
Yeah, I saw some photos of your practice, and it looks so zen and very quiet and peaceful. And I think I heard some music in the background. So you must experience, because I actually work with another holistic veterinarian in my area. And she has a separate wing where she has just holistic, she doesn't do any surgery anymore. She just does, acupuncture and Chinese meds and stuff. And she's like, it's a completely different environment when the animal comes in there. They're all calm, but in the other end, they're like, because then you're smelling all the cortisol and all the stress and the sounds and the loud voices and dogs and cats barking. So, I mean, it's actually kind of interesting that people aren't thinking more about this, but we hope that through this and your practice that people will start to think about how important music is as well.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I've had a patient who, if they try to take her to a normal hospital, she starts having a seizure because she's that stressed. And when she comes to my place, she's like, has no idea that it's a clinic. She's wagging her tail. We're doing acupuncture. She's like completely relaxed. So the environment does make a big difference. And that's another thing that I hope that hospitals will integrate more in the future, as they're upgrading and working on how they're presenting like their services, is having those the environment being a really big part of the healing space. So I think it's becoming more known. And I've been hearing more stories of like in human hospitals they're doing more sound therapy for people, and just it's little things like that, but they can really make a big difference for that patient's experience of like having a really kind of like traumatizing, awful hospital experience compared with something that actually feels more healing and intentional on the part of the care providers.
Absolutely. And you
like
see,
that healing touch.
Yeah, I see it because I work in a practice twice a week, and I see like the stress of the animal. I mean, there's hardly any dog that just comes in and is all nice and quiet. They're like, they don't want to go in, or like, it's very, very common. So yeah,
and it's hard for us to see them like that. Like no one wants them to be stressed out.
Of course.
But the way that we run our hospitals for the most part is everything's like fast. We've got the bright lights and the slippery floors, and it's more designed for efficiency than it is for comfort.
So true. So we mentioned, you mentioned something like the pet parents, what they can do at home, but is there something like in your experience that maybe if they're just getting started out, that would be like really beneficial or broadly beneficial right away? Is there one tip you could just, if they don't have tuning forks, for instance, or don't know much about frequencies, like what would you suggest?
I would suggest just starting to get some exposure to it, because it is a whole world of itself. In my newsletter, like if you subscribe to that, I send out different educational items about it. So if anyone's curious, following people like myself or others in the space who just talk about ways that we can use music and sound for animals is a good place to start. I think some people are drawn to different things. So, some people, they're like, oh, the sound bowls, like that sounds wonderful, and then I can use it for myself. Other people, they might be more curious about the tuning forks. Or if you play an instrument, then this could be a reason to like get back into it. A lot of people, they learn an instrument growing up and then they kind of put it to the side. But for me, like playing for the animals is one of the things that gets me the most motivated to play. I would much rather like spend the time playing for a dog or a horse than like actually making it happen for people, which is just kind of funny. Yeah, it's like it just feels like more fun and cute. I don't know. And so yeah, it's like special because it has that intention where you're just doing it out of that giving spirit of like, I just want to do something nice for this creature that I love. So yeah, it could even be a reason to learn an instrument, because it's like your dog's not going to judge you if you're a beginner. Like they'll probably just sit there and enjoy spending time with you. So
yeah, that's
beautiful. Just like getting curious. But yeah, I mean, the simplest thing would just be to also start experimenting with playing different types of music for your pets and seeing what they like. And it can be a nice way to bond with your pets and get to know them better. Also to learn more about their behavior, which is really important. And if they seem to like, one particular thing, then using that on a regular basis. And then when scary things happen, like going in the car to the vet, or these like strangers coming over, or the thunderstorm or fireworks, then you can use that music that they're used to with that positive associations. And it's almost like a comfort, like a security blanket type of thing that they're like, okay, at least I can hear these sounds that I know, and it can make them feel a little bit better.
That's a great tip. You never really hear about that. It's all about CBD and what we can feed them, right? But it's like if you start to sort of early on associate them with something that they love, that would be something that could be useful, drowning everything out, because we just had 4th of July, obviously, and more to come, right? New Year's is coming. And
every year.
Every year.
It takes that extra step of doing it ahead of time. Like that, I think like you're saying, those other remedies, you can kind of do it last minute and be like, oh no, it's loud, like give them the sedatives. But the music, I mean, you can use it in the moment too, but I think it has the most benefits if they have like that music that they know and love. You put it on when you guys are relaxing in the morning or the evening, and then that's also what you have playing when you're away and like they're alone, so to help with separation anxiety. And then when you have to do stressful things like give them a bath or trim their nails, like you can put their happy music on and give them that extra layer of comfort. So it's just those, like, it's being kind of thoughtful, which is, it's just fun when you love your pets. You have like those thoughtful things you can do for them.
Yeah. Well, you've certainly inspired me. I, like you, started very young. I suppose I played the piano through until my 20s, and I was going to go to the conservatory and then ended up in business school. I don't know what happened, but so maybe I'll have to. I don't have room for a grand piano yet, but I'm working on it. And I know Melissa, you also play some instruments.
Yeah.
Right?
So nowhere near your level at all, but I do want to like acknowledge something that you said, because I dabble with the flute, the guitar, and I play outside a lot for my pigs, my goats, especially. Sometimes the cats will join, but I will say they are very forgiving. Like, I am by no means do I identify as a musician, but it does, I just want to say, like what you were saying, it makes me want to do it more, even though I'm like maybe mediocre at best.
Yeah, even if you're like, I'm
amazing.
not gonna like record this and put it on the internet,
Exactly.
but like doing it in the moment, it's a nice way to connect with
It
with the
is.
animals that you love
It is
and
really
get
like
better and practice.
they like the goats will like chew their cud and just kind of like you can see them just calming down. The pigs will like flop over and show
Yeah.
their bellies. And it's amazing when the cats join too because they're just, they're so sensitive to things. So it's really nice when you could do something like this and offer it to your animals. So you don't have to, I mean, obviously Sunny and I are totally, we love sound, everything, therapy, music. But to anybody that's a skeptic, whether they're another veterinarian or a pet parent, and they're like, what do you have to say to them?
I guess I would say don't knock it till you try it. It's like I think it's rare that I meet someone who has like no preference for any type of music or they just hate music because as the sensory beings that we are, like sound is one of the most important things. And we all have things that in terms of sound like will make us feel good and make us feel bad, like agitate. And it depends on the day and your mood and like what you're doing. So I think like the way I see it is it's only it's like the least we can do for our animals is to just spend a little time getting curious and experimenting to see and like giving them that respect of maybe you are actually like intelligent enough to perceive this and enjoy it. Like I think animals have been kind of like pushed to the side for so many hundreds of years as these like stupid like low level creatures, and I think they're really not like they're different than humans, but they can still enjoy things. And like I mean people didn't even think that animals felt pain until about 50 years ago, so that was not even acknowledged until very recently. And so this is just the next layer of our consciousness evolving of like actually like these creatures that live on the earth with us are very smart and very intelligent, and they can enjoy things just like we do. And some days they may like it and they may not on other days. So just giving them that respect and honor that they deserve as like beings that are living in the same environments as us, and like they have to deal with a lot of our noise and our energy and our moods shifting. So just
Crap.
yeah, giving it back to them and
Yeah.
being like, what would make you feel good today? Like, what do you want?
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, that's food for the soul. I mean, just to listen to you speak about that because it's so true. And so, you are into so many things. So you're such a unique individual, which is why we wanted to have you on. But what are you working on right now that you're excited about? Or what is there something you'd love our listeners to know about?
Well, I just launched my e-course, which as this topic, it does have a whole module on music and sound therapy. So if anyone is interested in learning more, the e-course does have a whole section on these kind of like energy therapies and music and just ways that you can start learning more about this. Other things in the course, there's a whole section on it that's like lifestyle management, like upgrading the things in your life in terms of the pet's diet and the things in your home so that it's less toxic, ways to do like longevity hacks for pets, and then learning more about like other holistic modalities that you might try for your pets, like acupuncture and rehab and the other things that I do. So the course, it took a couple years to get it done, and we just launched it a few months ago. So that's really exciting because it does encompass a lot of the things we use at my practice. And so for people who, can only come in once or like aren't here and they can't come in at all, they can still get that whole like educational program just delivered online at home, and it's like self-paced. They get long-term access. So it's a nice option for people who just want to learn and dabble more and get their info from one person instead of like piecemealing it from the internet and Facebook groups, which I know is how a lot of us learn about
Yeah.
a lot of the holistic topics.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, Melissa and I were just talking about it. Like, I wonder if she has an e-course because you're a bit far away from us. We're on the East Coast, but that would be a wonderful. And we'll definitely share the information about your course in the show notes, so everyone. But thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and congratulations on the course. It is
thank
really
you.
exciting.
Yeah, it's nice to have something that's like a just a complete, broad delivery of like the practice philosophy, because we do have a really unique approach, and being able to share that with someone who's anywhere is very powerful, so that they can learn too and apply it in their own location.
Great.
And where can people find you? But before you answer, I mean, people have to follow you because your content is incredible. I mean, it often moves me to tears just watching how the animals are interacting with your music. It's just so beautiful. So where can people find you?
Yeah, so if you're interested in music, I would suggest YouTube as a starting point, because I do have some of those like 8 or 9 hour loop music things that you could try as like that background music for getting your pet used to something. And it's designed for pets, so it won't have any loud, scary moments, which you might have in there. And the other thing too is a lot of the music for pets on the internet, like on YouTube, a lot of it is like AI generated, and it's more like the elevator music, spa music, that some people I think aren't into that and they get kind of tired of it. So I try to have my music be both calming, but also like you could listen to it all day if you had to.
Nice.
So that's a good place to start, is my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Barrett Vet. And then I have my websites, which I'm sure you can link, drbarrettvet.com and museholisticvet.com is where you can find like the e-course. And then there's links on those websites to all the social channels too. So I'm on all the platforms.
And of course, if someone is located in Hawaii, you are open, right? You are practicing on a daily basis, so people can come see you.
Yes, and I do sometimes go to the outer islands. I'm located on Oahu, but sometimes I'm on the other islands working, so don't hesitate to reach out if you're somewhere nearby.
Great. I actually have a friend there, so I'm gonna tip her off about you. I know she has a dog, so.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. This has been such an incredible conversation. It's only the tip of the iceberg. We'd like to continue talking to you and maybe invite you back, because Melissa was saying how beautiful your music is, and just to see you playing the harp for your animals, everyone has to go see that, because it is such a beautiful thing. So thank you for everything you're doing for the animals, and also thank you so much for agreeing to come on and spend some time with us. And I hope all the listeners will follow you and be inspired to start playing some music at home, because it's therapeutic to both pets and animals, right?
It is. Yeah, just try having it on like at like what I like to do is when my pets are eating breakfast and dinner, I'll put the music on for them, because it's like being at a restaurant and you have like the nice ambiance. I think then they digest better. It's just nice for everyone. So there's another tip too.
I meant humans and animals. Yeah, of course. Yeah, we can all benefit together. I'm a huge on that.
Exactly.
Well, thank you again. Anything else you want to share
welcome.
before we? Yeah. Anything else you want to share before we say goodbye for now?
Like you said, it's just the tip of the iceberg. So, for anyone curious, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm available for questions or, additional conversations, and just like share with people, try it out yourself, and just be curious and open-minded, and see what happens. You never know. Some magical things might happen.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening. And don't forget to follow us wherever you tune into your favorite podcast, Apple, Spotify. We are also on Substack, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we go, we want to remind you that the information shared on the whole pack is for educational purposes only and is not intended to replace veterinary medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult with your veterinarian before making any changes to your pet's diet, supplements, or healthcare routine. Every animal is unique, and what works for one may not be appropriate for another. We're here to empower you with knowledge. but your vet is your partner in your pet's individual care.